Welcome to the Guitars and Cars podcast. I'm Jay, and there's Matt over there. By default, it's Matt, obviously. So we have some cool stuff happening today. I don't like to brag, but I'm going to. I pick the topics. So how about that?
Awesome.
So it's going to be signature guitar models on the guitar side. And then we're going to jump into EV road trips because, well, EVs are becoming a thing and they stopped being a thing for a little bit. Now they're back. So lots to dig into with that. So with that, I feel I said that a lot. That's a third, fourth that. Please start talking, Matt, so I can stop talking.
All right. Okay, so signature models, for those who may not know, there are guitars that come out that have a famous guitar player's name on them. That's what we mean by signature models, and there's different levels of involvement with that artist. Sometimes you can tell it's just a logo stuck on there, and then other times, there's YouTube videos about them coming together or working on this thing for months or whatever. So, have you played any? Are you excited about any? Have you ever owned one? Where are you at with this?
I've tried a few. I don't like them. They're right up there with the artificially worn out guitars. Or the artificial wear, whatever the silly buzzword is. I don't
Pre-worn?
pre-war. That's like
Yeah.
whatever. I don't really like them. I don't really care for them. Like I don't want to sound like John Mayer. I like what he sounds like. And Joe Bonamassa has almost 20 signature models, and it's not a thing for me. I can appreciate it. I understand it. It's a piece of the artist being made available to the public, but just for me, it's What about you? Do you care for them? Do you like them?
I feel the same way in that the first word that comes to mind is cheesy.
Mm-hmm.
However, I do see first I see the artist side, because the thing is, most of the time you can only be a rock star for so long and there's only so many income streams. And these days it's not from album sales, so you're doing merch and tours and all that. And so, hey, if Fender or Gibson's going to pay you a bunch of money to put your name on a guitar, that is cool. I really would be interested in the sales numbers. Obviously, these are private companies. We don't really ever know how much they sell of anything. And so I do feel like, okay, Joe, you got 20 guitars with your name on it. What are we doing here? Whereas there are two specific models that I want to talk about because I almost bought both of them. So the first one is what do they call it? The EOB Signature Sustainer Strat. So that's Ed O'Brien from Radiohead. Have you heard of this guitar, Jay?
Only because you told me
Okay.
in our conversations over the past couple of
Right.
weeks.
So this is a Strat to Ed O'Brien's spec, but it has a sustainer built in. So kind of like an EBO. It's essentially the same technology, but it's in the pickup. And so you can hit a note or several notes and you flick it on and it will sustain and repeat that. So you can kind of have a pad, and then you can do things with your effects pedals and all of that. So really, really cool. But for me, it's a Strat, which, listen, I love Strats, but they're just not my guitar. And of course, single coil pickups. So again, when we talked last week about picking up a second guitar, I was like, I want something with a humbucker. And of course, it's quite expensive because it's a signature model and there weren't very many made. But there was a guy in Cape Breton selling one for an incredible price, especially considering when you would go on Reverb, you would see them for more. And he was just selling it privately on Marketplace. And I was like, this would be the opportunity, but I just couldn't do it. It was still like $2,000.
Now, how much use between your personal playing and Rick and the Temps would you actually get out of it?
I would get, at this point, probably zero use, honestly. Like, maybe I would pick it up for, we play a Red Hot Chili Pepper song, he
Or a
usually plays
Radiohead
Strats.
song?
Yeah, we play Creep. I mean, it doesn't really matter what guitar you play in
No.
Creep at that point. So that's the other thing is, again, if if I was writing and recording original music more and that was like my focus, then I probably would have a Strat and I would have already had a humbucker, maybe. But again, for 20 odd years, I've been using this G&L guitar and kind of crafting everything around that. So that's why I didn't pick it up. And true to what you've asked, I don't think it would have gotten a lot of usage. Now, I will say I did end up playing that Gretsch for about 50% of the set at our show last week.
Okay.
And it was awesome.
Nice.
It was so great. So super pumped about that guitar.
Nice.
Now, the other guitar that I almost picked up is the Jazzmaster Jazzmaster. And this is a Sqiuer. And it's right now, it's like just under $800. And I will say, literally, since the last episode we recorded, all guitar prices have gone up.
They know.
From a couple weeks ago, I said that Gretsch is 430 and now it's like 480, just over a couple weeks. And I think the Jazzmaster is the same thing. It was 740 and now it's 780. So this is a Jazzmaster, and I played it as well as its much more expensive cousins because it's a Sqiuer. It's not a Fender, and I preferred it over all of the other Jazzmasters that I was able to try at Long and McQuaid. It kind of has this cult following, and being under $800, a signature model that's actually great, that doesn't also have the higher end version, right? Like most of the time, if there is a Sqiuer version of something, then there's also the Fender version that's more expensive, or Epiphone, and there's the real deal Gibson version. But this is just straight up Sqiuer. I can see picking that one up because I just feel like it's more true to the kind of spirit of getting an artist involved in designing something, and the fact that he chose for it to be a Sqiuer and not try to double the price just to make more money, I think says a lot.
Yeah.
So
cool.
that's where I'm at on that. I know there's the John Mayer, was it called the
Silver Sky thing?
Silver Sky.
And all that nonsense between like he wanted Fender to do it, and then he was a little coy about saying why Fender couldn't, wouldn't, didn't. And I'm not a professional musician, and this is a very armchair quarterback take. It didn't need to take 5 years to craft a Strat with a different headstock. Like, come on, Matt. Just humor me on this. Maybe 1-2 years, but I don't know. It seems
he's a busy guy,
I guess. But like, all right, here's a PRS. Just pick your inlays, pick your colors. We'll put your specific pickups in. Thankfully, there is not a budget version, but a lower priced version of the Silver Sky out there.
Nice.
I still wouldn't buy it. Like, yeah. I don't know. It's.
I mean, come on, John Mayer. Like, Joe Bonamassa's putting them out every month. Like,
right? Like, keep up, buddy.
Up your game.
John Mayer now has this whole plug-in thing that he dropped over Christmas. You can have, a $200 Pacifica 112 and emulate the John Mayer sound with a $200 plugin.
Yeah, but imagine you combine the Silver Sky with the plugins, then you're probably just going to be a guitar god all of a sudden.
Yeah, may as well call me Ron Mayer, right? Because it can't be John Mayer.
I honestly feel that John Mayer and worship guitarists are keeping all of these companies in business.
For sure.
It's absolutely insane. Every single post about so many pedals are about John Mayer. Guitars are, and then when you get into reverbs and delays and helixes, it's, worship guitar is massive for sales. And I just read something. I've got if I can find it again, I'll post it in our show notes. But it was a guitar company saying that they think that a third of their guitars is the worship industry.
I saw the same thing, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I'm like,
must have been on Threads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a wild number, right? Like, I realize everything has a beginning, middle, and end. And I think we're almost at, if not past, peak guitar innovation. Right? The last big thing that jumped out at me was when I think you and I were probably teenagers, and I can vision the Parker Fly came out, and that's just such a bizarre thing. And now it's got a cult following, kind of like the Pontiac Aztec, right? Like, hated for decades, loved today. But yeah, and then there was Prince's guitar. But I think for Strats and Les Pauls and Jacksons and just the key guitar shapes, like, what else can you should you do to it to make them new?
Yeah, and again, like, I don't think any of these signature models are really bringing a hell of a lot of new things. The Ed O'Brien one, putting a sustainer in a model that is just sold is interesting because that would be more of a custom mod or something like that. But most of the things can be accomplished by changing out a pickup or whatever. And honestly, a lot of guitar sounds that we have heard on records that we love are not super expensive guitars, and a lot of time they are something off the shelf where they threw a different pickup in, and they did very minimal things to it. So in the end, I'm not going to be going and buying 6 EVH guitars and a 5150 amp. And I think, like you said, though, we can respect and enjoy all of these folks, but in the end, we're trying to have our own sound. And also, I don't want to be pigeonholed and buying a guitar and maybe it only really sounds great when you're playing one style of music. So,
And if you're in a tribute band or you're in the classic albums live world, sure, go out and get that signature model and play that part and really own it. But for a 90s cover
100%.
band, like, I
Yeah.
think your G&L does more than enough with one pickup, let alone all the different sounds you can get.
Yeah, exactly. And then
So,
as long as you have, a single coil Tele or Strat, and then a humbucker Les Paul ish or a Gretsch or whatever, you're going to be able to nail pretty much every sound if you've got something like a Helix or you've got an amp that has a lot of different sounds and takes pedals well or something like that.
or maybe a Line 6 pod,
Yeah,
bringing
original
it
pod.
back.
I'm so bad. The local guitar place, they have new and used stuff. He posted before Christmas that he had an original Line 6 pod for $40. And I wrote him and said, Wicked, do you have the power supply? I just want to know because it's very specific power supply. And, I'd have to grab one. And he's like, yeah, I'll check. And then I checked in like 3 more times and he just ghosted me. And I have no idea if it
Oh,
got sold, but I was like, for $40, I would love to try it out.
right?
Yeah. All right. I think it is time for Gear Corner.
It is.
Gear Corner.
I will say that Gear Corner can be anything. It's been guitar stuff so far, and I'm going to continue that today. But be prepared for the future because we can go in any direction. It is our way of maybe getting in some topics that aren't exactly guitars and cars. But we're going to stick with it this week. And my question for Jay is, which guitar strings do you use?
I use the D'Addario NYXLs 10 to 52. It's the hybrid set, thin on the top, heavy on the bottom. Most bands I've been in, I've been the only guitar player, so I have to find a way to thicken up the lower end without jumping over the bass guitar. So I've used those for their 11, 12 years, and I will not use anything else.
That's
What do you
awesome.
use? What do you use?
For years, I used a D'Addario set that the only difference was the third string, the G string, was wound. Yeah.
Ah, really?
And I think it's because, I have a single coil Tele style guitar, so it's already a little thin. And I think I just felt that when I'm doing single line things on that string, it seems extra thin sometimes. And then bending was just like sometimes slightly uncomfortable or something. I don't know. I'm trying to go back in time to think of why I even started doing it because I stopped because they're not necessarily easy to get.
They're
They're
not.
not always stocked, right? And so I would, I remember I was in Cape Breton and I went into the music store there and they just didn't have them and I needed extra strings. We were playing a show and I was like, okay, maybe this is ridiculous because now, not that I really had to change the intonation a hell of a lot between the wound and the non-wound, so I could use regular strings. They were, mostly imperceptible. It was there. If you use like a strobe tuner, there'd be a slight difference in the thickness, but so I just switched. I went back to the regular D'Addarios. And then for some reason, I started using maybe 4 years ago the Ernie Ball Slinkies and like the acidic yellow packaging, if we're going to go with that.
Oh, okay.
Similar to that Crosstrek color. Just 10 to 46s because I don't need to add any more thickness or anything in the bass. And They've been great. I don't really know if they last any longer or are really any different than the Darios. Maybe it's just marketing.
But
However,
it's all marketing.
yeah, I did recently try the exact same strings, but in their Paradigm edition. So have you used any of these double the price fancy strings?
I refuse wholeheartedly. Absolutely. Like, if you want to just jack the price up and make a couple of extra dollars, just say that. But don't give me this lasts twice as long. Like, these sweaty fingers do not last twice as long. So don't even Dario, Ernie Ball, whoever you are, GHS boomers, just please stop. Take my money. Give me a good product. Everybody's happy.
So the jury is out because I only put these on the rehearsal before the show, and the show was on the 7th. So I've done, 2 rehearsals and 1 show. The show was insanely sweaty. I was dying up. I was literally, just before a solo, I would wipe my hands on my pants and then go back to playing. So we'll see. They were way more expensive. Their marketing is very intense, that it's the plasma enhanced wrap for corrosion resistance and nano treatment for unprecedented repellency of oil, sweat, and buildup. How could you not be sold?
Because AI wrote that garbage. That's
Yeah.
why what a bunch of garbage words.
I know.
We're running out of money, guys. Come on. Anyway.
I will say I did try a coated acoustic string one time, and they totally lasted longer.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if it's a difference because the metal is a little bit different on those, and maybe it corrodes quicker. I have no idea, but definitely like months and months later, I was like, this still sounds pretty good. Whereas I know in my head what that guitar would sound like 5 or 6 months on without changing strings, because it's just the one that hangs on my wall and I pick it up and play it every day. But I don't really notice until, oh God, these strings need to be changed.
Yeah, they're dirty, they're flat, they're dull.
But yeah, I don't think it'll be worth double the price. We'll see. I've got a stack of the regular ones anyway, because whenever I see them on sale, when you can get a 5 or a 10 pack, I do, because you just go through them so much. But yeah, so I guess we're not. I mean, you have a pretty unique set. That's pretty cool. Have you? So I'm guessing you set up your guitar so that's nice and intonated and good for the tension on.
Yeah, so I have an Epiphone Les Paul. I have an American Strat and a reissue 69 Tele thin line. So one of all the key things, and I got them all set up for that specific tension, and it works. It stays in tune, and along with the crazy $5 guitar picks, looking over here at Matt,
my fancy strings.
I have a few dollars left on my couch.
Yeah, exactly.
Gear Corner.
That is Gear Corner for this week. Next week, I promise I'm going to come in with something that has nothing to do with guitars. So,
okay.
Moving on to our cars topic, which Jay teased earlier, which are talking about EVs, I think, in general a little bit, but then specifically about range and road trips.
So it is the middle of February when this is being recorded, and with our every other Sunday schedule, this will be out at the end of February. The EV mandates are kind of gone, but the EV rebates as of February 16th are back up to $5,000. But the car has to be under $50,000 for an MSRP. Something beats nothing. And all the people that don't want to buy EVs because I can't road trip in them don't really road trip anyway. It's just their imaginary security blanket saying, I just don't like EVs. And if you don't just say it like it, they're not for everybody. Now, I've somehow done a 2,000 kilometer, almost all of BC road trip last summer with an Ioniq 6. Perfect. No flaws. BC Hydro is one of the best infrastructure companies for building chargers. Same thing with Quebec. Now, would I go to Alberta and do that? No, because the diesel boys would come chase me away. And that's fine. Alberta's not really interested in EVs, and neither is the entire country, but there are small pockets. It takes a couple of hours of in-depth planning, checking chargers, finding secondary chargers, and a third backup because they're either broken or used or whatever. And my golden rule is whatever the range is from the manufacturer, knock off 25%, and that is your real range. My question to you is, would you do an EV road trip in Nova Scotia?
That's a great question. I want to back up to say owning an EV in Nova Scotia is difficult currently. I would have thought that my next car would be electric. If you would have asked me 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 years ago, I would have said for sure. Push came to shove in June. It's like, oh, I do not have a charger at home because I live in a walk up with no parking. There's 2 lots that I can pay for to park in. Neither of them have chargers. In fact, there are no chargers in downtown Dartmouth, as far as I know, and must be unless there's private ones. Downtown Halifax, different story, but that's not where I live and that's not where I work. And my partner works in a 16-story building and there's no chargers there either. So she couldn't get one. So we're a 2-car household. And we should be able to have 1 EV and 1 gas vehicle. We have 1 hybrid with her Santa Fe and mine's gas because there is just no way to charge in Nova Scotia unless you have a house with a garage or you happen to be in a condo building that has some in their garage. There are chargers, but when I looked at the map in my studying for this episode, you would not believe how many of them are the 7 kilowatt ones. 7. Then I'm looking at when you get outside the city to a fast one, it's 200. So I'm like, what is even the point of 7? Does that even, would you not have to leave it overnight for 3 days to go from like 10 to 80?
Yeah, if not more.
Yeah.
That is
so that is
wild.
like the closest one to me without crossing the bridge to Halifax is 7 kilowatt. Which is wild. Now there is one just a little bit further that is 175, but also when you see them on the map and then you go on Google, you're like, okay, this looks like it's at a private business. Like,
right?
This is at the RBC Center. So do I just go park and pretend I'm an RBC customer? I don't know. So I will say that I believe that most of the EVs that I see are owned by people who can have home charger setups, that there's no way they're relying on anything else.
No,
not
at
full
all.
stop. That is where I'm at with EVs. And it drives me crazy because, as you can probably tell, I love technology. I love cars. The EVs are the ones that always have the better technology, the better infotainment, all the new features. And even though I do end up driving quite a bit when I have my kids, I can definitely drive 500 plus kilometers in a week, to 1,000 sometimes. If I could charge at home, it would be no problem. Like I could go the week probably on a single charge most of the time.
Well, because every morning every morning you're waking up to a full quote unquote tank. I don't know if I could do an extensive road trip with an EV in Nova Scotia. Like I think it's fine in the larger metropolitan areas, but I don't think Cape Breton or the Cabot Trail has one. I don't know what Yarmouth has. I don't know,
I'm going to pull it up right now while we're talking, because you are correct that on the actual Cabot Trail, there are no chargers.
I think there's like only 2 gas stations on the Cabot Trail.
Yeah. And let's be fair, it is a national park. It is a very isolated area, so that is definitely going to be one of the last places that gets electrified. Although, up in the very kind of middle of the trail would be a really great idea. So let's see. There is one in Bedeck, and there's one in Waikagama, and Bedeck is kind of on the Cabot Trail if you're going back to where you started, but
yeah,
not really. And I've got it filtered for only slightly faster ones. So let me just see. Never mind. The Bedeck one is between 7.2 and 50 kilowatt hours or kilowatts. Sorry. I keep saying hours because all of this is very confusing.
Yeah. Like unless you're taking 10 days on the Cabot Trail, like I think it's only 400 kilometers from bottom all the way across. And top them around. But
It'd be rough. Now there is Tesla ones in Yarmouth. There's 10. There's 10 in Digby. So I actually think if you're smart about it, you could do a road trip in Nova Scotia as long as it's not the Cabot Trail.
so you can head west, which is fine. And for
You
those
can
that
do
may
the
not,
valley.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for
So
those who
you
may
can do
not,
most of the province except the Eastern Shore and the Cabot Trail. And I mean, like you said, though, those are already places where even gas stations are few and far between.
yeah,
Taking the Eastern Shore is a long haul. But it's absolutely gorgeous. Some of the best
it's
beaches are there.
yeah.
So that's where we are. We're a tiny little province, but even still, it takes way more infrastructure than what is currently available for people to feel comfortable. Now, I also extended that out because I did a road trip to Quebec City with my partner and my daughter in the summer, and that would totally be possible because the whole way to Quebec, there's a lot of petro cans and such that have them, and even Irving has some. So
And now a lot of the newer cars have the NYXL adapter, which is the Tesla adapter, um, which, I'm not a fan of that guy that owns Tesla. I can't really even say his name, but to his credit, he revolutionized the electric vehicle world, not by the cars, but by the charging network. So Hyundai and Kia and Genesis and a bunch of brands have finally signed on. And now they come with NAX chargers, so they have the regular adapter, which comes with it. But getting EVs in motion more often is done through the Tesla supercharger network, and it sucks. But that's where we are, and that's what it's going to take to increase the uptake in EVs.
I do think you hit on something that I think is maybe a small part, but definitely part of the reason why sales haven't taken off. Because even someone who's kind of technically inclined can get confused of like, well, what car has what connector? And then I have to go look around me at some map that, and there's lots of maps. I pulled up 4 of them, but I don't know if they're all accurate and where they get their information and what type of charger this one has and what I should buy at my home. And that's just something you don't think about when you buy a gas car. You walk in and I mean, before there was hybrids and plugins, it's like, here's your gas car. Maybe one diesel option in a Jetta or a Golf or whatever, but it's not something people have to really think about. And there is a bit of that mental load of like, I don't even know if I want an EV, but I definitely don't even understand all this NACS and stuff.
Yeah.
And oh, what do you mean? If I get something at my house, it's going to cost $5,000 if I actually want a fast charger? And
There's a lot of moving parts, and it's not as easy. And I think that's part of the resistance. And yes, sit down with me for 10 minutes and I will get you all you need to know. But a lot of people are like, well, I just want to hang out at a gas station and let the pump fill my car in 100 seconds and be on my way. All I have to do is pick 87, 89, or 91 for the octane of gas. And I just want to go. People don't like the inconvenience, and I understand that. The future is going to be electric. It's not today. It's not tomorrow. Might be when your kids are our age. So I'm going to go 30 years before we're fully ready. But for now, I could understand the resistance to going fully electric.
I agree. And it's going to take a lot of infrastructure. These rebates help. I think the industry didn't even really know how to position things because so many have come out at the high end. Oh, we're putting all this technology in it, so it's going to be really expensive. And I mean, that started with Tesla. The battery was so expensive that they're like, okay, well, this has to be a luxury vehicle. But all that's changing. And obviously I can snap my fingers and picture all of these vehicles being electric and being much quieter and cleaner and people spending less time getting oil changes and things like that. So every time I think about, oh, I don't want to wait 20 to 30 minutes, because now with the fast chargers, that's what we're down to from 10 to 80%. Most of them are 20 to 30 minutes.
Exactly.
So okay, that sucks when you're just trying to get somewhere. But I mean, if you're stopping for a bite to eat on a road trip and a pee break anyway, you're going to be sitting there for 20, 30 minutes. And I would
Exactly.
rather do that the handful of times I go on a road trip versus going to the dealer and whatever garage several times a year and waiting for an oil change and waiting for things that just don't break down in EVs and aren't a thing in EVs.
And it's wild, right? Because like combustion engines have thousands of parts. There's little explosions that happen all the time within the engine. There are so many pieces that can and do malfunction. And it's not a shot against combustion versus EVs. Like they both have their specific way they're engineered, but for ease of use and for being in motion longer, and like you said, no, oh my goodness, I need to find a garage because my water pump, this pump, that, whatever went. It's just charge your EV and off you go. And yes, I realize I'm really, really dumbing it down, but at a baseline level, an EV is an excellent choice for a road trip with the right amount of plan.
Exactly. And someday I'll be very happy to put that extra planning in and drive my EV when I can charge it somewhere.
Come to Ontario. We have tons.
And driving in Ontario is not necessarily always the funnest in the busy
No,
parts. The non-busy
no.
parts, amazing, but
Yeah, that 401 is garbage on the best of days.
exactly. All right. And it doesn't matter if you're an EV or a gas vehicle, the 401 is garbage. I think we
Yeah.
can
Full-
agree on that.
yeah,
And
Full
we will
stop on that.
end on that note. So, we spoke about EV planning. We talked about some guitar strings and some signature guitars. And today didn't feel like a very positive episode. We're kind of down on some things, but I think that's realistic because we take the good with the bad.
And that's it, right? So EVs can be good. Signature models can be good. If you just want a cool piece in your collection, or you're in a tribute or a cover band, there's a time and place for everything. Just because we don't really love them doesn't mean you don't. And if you do, we would love to hear from you, and let us know which one you have, which one you're pining over, or which one you would like to see. Like, do you want a Matt Corkum custom GNL?
I don't
I
think
might,
so.
I might want one.
Well, and GNL doesn't really exist right now, so that can't really happen. But maybe
Okay, let's call it the MC signature model now. How about that?
I'm taking over the company, and they're just all my signature models.
The
One a
MC1?
month. Yeah, one a month. All right. So, however you are listening or watching this, you can you can subscribe. It is on all podcast platforms as well as YouTube. And Jay, I just got an email from Apple, and they are adding video to podcasts.
No.
So we will be uploading this in the spring. It's still in the works, but that's an exciting thing for podcast makers and enjoyers.
I bet Steve Jobs left that in his will and said,
I'm
all right,
sure.
guys, spring of 2026, do this.
They're just getting around to it. Yep. All right. Thanks, Jay. And thanks everyone
you.
for listening. And we will see you next time.